The beginning a bond forged in the wild. Winter had swallowed the forest whole. The ground was frozen, blanketed in snow, and the sharp wind carried the scent of hunger and danger. In the midst of this unforgiving wilderness, a lone hunter moved between the trees, his breath shallow and visible. He wore the furs of animals he had slain and held a wooden spear with calloused hands. His eyes, sharp, tired, alert, searched the land not just for prey, but for survival. He belonged to no tribe. For years, he had lived alone, guided only by instinct and silence. That evening, as the sun melted into the horizon, he stumbled upon a narrow cave entrance. There were traces of blood on the snow outside, fresh, dark, and unsettling. Cautiously, he stepped inside. There, curled in the shadows, lay a wounded animal. A wolf, or perhaps something between a wolf and a dog, thin, trembling, eyes filled with both pain and warning. It growled low, a sound more out of fear than threat. The hunter froze. The moment hung heavy. Then he lowered his spear. Without a word, he knelt near the entrance, kindled a small fire, and warmed a piece of meat. He slid it gently toward the creature and backed away. The animal sniffed it, hesitated, then devoured it with desperate hunger. That night, no words were exchanged, only glances. Yet something unspoken passed between them. Not trust, not yet, but something close. In the days that followed, the hunter returned. He brought food, but more than that, he brought presence. The creature never ran. It watched, always watching, but slowly edged closer. It stopped growling. One morning, as the hunter stepped out to track a deer, the creature followed at a distance. Limping, cautious, but following. Their bond, like the ice around them, melted slowly. One afternoon, while tracking a rabbit through thick snow, the hunter's focus was broken by a sharp, guttural roar. A bear, massive and furious, burst from the underbrush. The hunter barely had time to react. His spear fell from his grip as he stumbled backward, helpless. But before the beast could strike, the wounded creature lunged forward, snarling, teeth bared. It clamped onto the bear's leg, holding it back just long enough for the hunter to grab his weapon and strike. The bear retreated, injured. Silence returned to the forest. The hunter knelt beside the creature, its side heaving from exhaustion. Blood seeped from a fresh wound, but its eyes were calm now. No fear, no distance. That night, they didn't sleep apart. The wild no longer separated them. In a world that had only offered cold, hunger, and solitude, they had found warmth in each other. And though neither could speak, both knew they were no longer alone. From ally to asset, loyalty meets purpose. Generations passed. The wilderness slowly gave way to settlement. Fire no longer flickered alone in caves. It now glowed in clay ovens, in huts built by hand, in villages surrounded by fields of grain. In one such village, nestled between hills and streams, lived a boy named Rian. No older than 10, Rian had never seen a time without farming, tools, or fences. Yet one tradition had endured through centuries: the presence of dogs. Rian's companion was Baz, a lean, alert dog with honey-colored eyes and a scar down his flank, a mark of a wild boar fight the year before. Baz wasn't just a pet. He guarded the livestock, chased off jackals at night, and guided the herd during long walks to the pasture. But to Rian, he was something else entirely. Baz had been at Rian's side since he could walk. They shared everything: scraps of food, lazy afternoons by the stream, and whispered secrets under the stars. Villagers often said they understood each other without words. But this season, something had changed. The forest nearby had grown strangely quiet, and elders spoke in hushed tones about wolves returning. Rian heard the fear even if no one said it aloud. One moonless night, that fear became real. A scream pierced the silence. Goats bleated wildly. Rian's father shouted, running toward the animal pen with a torch. Rian followed, heart pounding. In the dim glow, 2 wolves were inside the pen, their eyes glowing, their teeth already bloodied. Chaos ruled until Baz leapt from the shadows. He moved without hesitation, barking, snapping, forcing one wolf back through the broken fence. The other lunged at him. They tumbled in a blur of fur and firelight. Rian stood frozen, watching his best friend battle for everything they held dear. When it was over, Baz stood limping, blood on his neck but defiance in his posture. The wolves were gone. The livestock had been saved. And for the first time the village erupted. Not in fear, but in awe. Elders gathered around Baz. One placed a handmade beaded necklace around his neck. "He's more than a dog," she whispered. "He's one of us." That night, as Rian tended to Baz's wounds, he didn't cry. Not because he wasn't scared, but because he finally understood. Baz wasn't just his friend. He was family, protector, partner, a living bridge between the wild past and the human present. And in the quiet that followed, beneath the stars they used to count together, a new truth settled in Rian's heart. Dogs didn't just walk beside humans. They belonged there. Forgotten and found the test of time, the city moved without pause. Cars honking, neon lights flickering, people walking fast with nowhere to truly be. Among the noise and blur lived Mr. Karim, a retired railway worker with silver hair and a stooped back. In a crowded world, he was entirely alone. His apartment was small, quiet, and filled with stillness that stretched between the ticking of the wall clock. His children lived abroad, their voices now reduced to brief, polite phone calls. Most days passed in silence, except for the occasional sound of the kettle or the rustle of an old newspaper. One rainy afternoon, as Karim sat by the window sipping lukewarm tea, he saw something unusual down on the street. A stray dog, soaked and shivering, limping across the sidewalk. Its fur was matted, and its eyes darted in fear. Most passers-by ignored it. A few threw stones to drive it away. But Karim kept watching. The next day, the dog returned, this time curling up beneath the rusted bench near the entrance of his building. Karim didn't know why, but he brought down half a roti and placed it quietly by the bench. No words, no gestures, just a small act of kindness. This became routine. Morning tea, leftover bread, and a silent exchange of glances. The dog never came too close, but it stopped flinching. One morning it wagged its tail. That was enough. Karim named him Bura, for his dusty brown fur, and slowly Bura began to follow him. Down the alley to the fruit stall, to the park where old men sat feeding pigeons, even to the graveyard where Karim visited his wife's faded headstone. Neighbors raised eyebrows. "You let a stray follow you?" they asked. Karim only smiled. "He doesn't ask questions. He just walks with me." Then one cold evening, Bura didn't show up. Karim waited by the bench, bread in hand. Hours passed. Worry tightened in his chest, something he hadn't felt in years. He searched through the neighborhood, asking quietly, calling Bura's name into the alleys. Near a construction site, under a pile of wood, he found him, injured, whimpering, too weak to move. Karim didn't hesitate. He lifted him into his arms and took him home. That night, the silence was broken. Bura lay curled in an old blanket, and Karim hummed a lullaby his mother used to sing. For the first time in decades, the apartment felt alive. Bura healed slowly, and with him so did Karim. Their walks resumed. The world outside remained chaotic, but inside, something sacred had returned. He was no longer just a man in a city. He was seen, and Bura, once discarded by the world, was now someone's reason to wake up. Home at last, more than just a pet. Ayan was 7 when he first learned the word adoption. His parents brought him to the shelter on a breezy Sunday morning. Rows of cages lined the walls, filled with barking, whimpering, and silent eyes that said more than words ever could. Ayan didn't understand why the animals were here. He only knew they looked sad. Then he saw her, curled in the corner of her cage, a white dog with a single black patch over one eye, calm, still watching. Unlike the others, she didn't bark or beg. She just waited. Ayan knelt in front of her cage. "What's her name?" The volunteer smiled gently. "Her name is Tara. She's been here the longest." No one ever picks the quiet ones. But Ayan already knew. By the time they brought her home, Tara had become something more than a dog. She was a secret keeper, a nap partner, a soft presence beside him during thunderstorms and tough days at school. She never demanded anything. She simply was, always there. As Ayan grew, so did their bond. When his parents argued behind closed doors, Tara would place her head on his lap, sensing what no one else could. When he cried after failing a math test, Tara lay beside him until sleep took the pain away. She never tried to fix him. She just stayed. Years passed. Ayan became a teenager. His voice deepened, his world expanded, and friends came and went. But Tara remained. A little slower now, her muzzle graying, but her eyes still holding that quiet knowing. One winter night, Ayan returned home to find her struggling to stand. The vet's voice was gentle but firm. It's time. She's in pain. The room felt too quiet. Ayan sat on the cold floor beside her, stroking her fur, whispering all the things he never said aloud. You were my best friend, my home. You made everything better. Tears fell freely. Tara looked up at him one last time, eyes full of the same love she had given since day one. She passed in his arms. Weeks went by. Her bed remained untouched. Her collar still hung near the door. The silence was unbearable. One evening, Ayan opened an old photo album. Pictures of Tara as a puppy, of him at age 7, smiling with missing teeth, hugging her tightly. He realized then, dogs had never just been pets. From wild guardians to fierce protectors, from silent companions to emotional healers, they had always been family. Always chosen us long before we knew how to choose them. And now it was his turn to give back. The next morning, Ayan returned to the shelter. Different faces, different sounds, but one truth remained. Love, once given, never truly ends. It only waits quietly, patiently, for the next heart to call it home.